Welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is the finals of the Korean StarCraft League number 51. Where in game number 1 of this best of 5 series, we find ourselves on the map Post Youth. Spotting right here in the top right hand corner, playing with the blue Protoss probes, we have none other than Creator. His opponent, in the opposite corner, playing with the red Terran SCVs, he goes by the name of Oliveira. I know, it is not Hero going up against Dark. If I'm not mistaken, both of them did participate in this particular one, but they got eliminated. Yeah, usually it seems to be Dark versus Hero over and over and over again, but apparently not this time around. And I've heard that this particular series is an absolute banger, so we'll have to find out together exactly what ended up going down. Oliveira, of course, last year's world champion of StarCraft 2. It's gotten a little bit confusing, right? Because we've changed the tournament over the last couple of years that determines who the world champion of StarCraft 2 is. Like 7 times. It's gotten a little bit confusing. This time around, though, for 2024, the Esports World Cup, it will be taking place in August. That one, you know, the name of the tournament alone is already going to make it very easy. Hopefully this is going to be an annual thing and not just a one-off, but it should make it very easy for us to, at the very least, determine who the world champion of StarCraft 2 is. Anyways, what I was going to bring up, though, is that everybody's very familiar with how good Oliveira is. In my mind, Creator is probably even a little bit better. Creator is one of those players who is, generally speaking, a little overlooked. There's a few players out there that don't really get a whole lot of recognition, and Creator has been really strong for many years. But, yeah, he doesn't really have as many people cheering for him overall, it seems. Even though he's a super nice guy and very good at, well, playing Protoss. He's gonna go for a Stargate proxy here in game number 1. Post Youth, of course, does have that very easy-to-take in-base expansion, but for the time being, Oliveira, even though he can take that expansion right at the very start of the game, he's decided to go for a double gas opener. So it's a double gas opener. That means it's a much quicker factory, much quicker starport as well on the back of it. Okay. And a super late expo. In the meantime, Creator is okay. So he went proxy Stargate before expanding into an expo over at the gold base. Well, both of these guys are trying to play the map as hard as possible, going for strategies that are usually considered to be quite strange on Post Youth. And it's hard to say who's really going to come out ahead here. It's going to be an Oracle first. When Creator sees the factory production, I guess that's going to give him an indicator of what exactly is going on. But at this point, he doesn't really know yet. One thing he does know is that there hasn't been any scouting whatsoever from the Terran, and that may have very well prompted the gold base first. Anyways, Oracle number 1 is going to be coming out. We do have a second one queued up immediately. You'll be happy to try and find a base here, but he doesn't see anything, and that's weird. Yeah, Oracle immediately turns around. What do you do with the proxy now? The proxy hasn't been seen. He has not been spotted. He's got a gold base coming up. I'm assuming he'll recall, but he could just walk the units over there if he really wants to. But he could recall and go back around. Okay, we're going to try and swoop in from the top section of the main here instead. Medevac drop was just spotted, and I guess just forcing this thing to turn around is already quite amazing. Ooh, he wanted to get that last SCV too. That's on just 1 hit point, but anyways, the other Oracle is going to go around. 1 Adept has gone down so far, but honestly, killing 5 SCVs when Terran's going for a 1-base play is absolutely massive. SCVs are going to be coming across the map right now too, so Oliveira still does not know what he's playing against, and the problem is, if this would have been an expansion inside of the main base for Creator, an expansion right over there, I don't think there's a whole lot Oliveira can really do about it. This gold base, however, is, yeah, very vulnerable. So that'll be an easy snipe. It should be an easy snipe anyways. Well, for some reason we've decided to commit all of the probes in there. I guess he's hoping he can hold on to this expansion, but I'm not 100% sure that he needs to. It's going to be a difficult one to achieve, and I think trying to hold on to this is just going to make things much worse. Liberator, yeah, I mean, he's got to get sniped, but the Marines are still pretty good. GG ultimately is cold. It is going to be Oliveira who wins game number 1 in a very strange... This was literally just an extended 1-base all-in from the Terran. Like this was a barracks into a factory into a starport, and then you made a bunch of stuff. This is the way we used to play StarCraft 2 in 2010. Next up, we find ourselves on Golden Aura. Yeah, sometimes it's nice to get fancy, to go for strategies that may not be entirely expected, but sometimes just a good old one base all in is the way to go. I really wonder though, what would have happened if Creator just decided to go for a Stargate inside of the main base and an expansion inside of the main base too, because Post-Youth is one of those maps where you can easily expand, you can easily make that. How in the world would that strategy from Oliveira have worked out against a quote-unquote normal start for Protoss? I'm not 100% convinced it would have been good. Anyhow, it ended up working out for him and he's got a point on the board. But let's see. This time around, Creator not really rushing out anything towards the other side of the map. We've got ourselves a barracks building inside of the main base too. Keep in mind that Oliveira, by the way, did not scout whatsoever. So he had no idea in the previous game about that expansion. He didn't know about the proxy Stargate. He didn't know what his opponent was going for at all. Okay. Looks like Creator is going to be the one who will be pretty greedy here this time around. At the very least, this looks like an expo at 20 supply. Yeah, it will be. But it's going to be completely scoutless. Super dangerous against all kinds of early game aggression from the Terran. We are going to be following it up with a Cybercore eventually. So this is Gateway into 20 supply Nexus into 20 supply Cybercore. But completely scoutless. He has no idea. He restarts Pro Production. You will be able to go for a Stalker here eventually, which will be good, or an Adept, I guess, against that very first Reaper. It'll work out this time around, but after falling 1-0 behind, it would not normally be the type of strategy you would want to go for. Double gas opener once again for Oliveira. Are we just once more gonna go for a straight up one base 1-1-1? No, I think we will be expanding behind this. He's only got 4 workers in gas here in total, so it will be an expansion. But again, a relatively late one. All kinds of stuff, by the way, that can mess this up as well, right? Imagine if it was a Zealot going across the map as the very first gateway unit. Because this is Reaper, Scoutless Reaper, into straight Reactor, so there's no Marine or anything available. One Zealot could literally win the game right now, because you could kill the SCV that's building the command center, and that slows down all of this from Terran tremendously. The Reaper would have to make the run of shame all the way back home. It is a bit of a spicy series so far. Usually, players cut corners when they feel like they absolutely need to. There seem to be 2 reasons as to why cutting corners is a good idea. First off, you're feeling very confident that you don't really need any of that scouting information because you know what your opponent is going to go for. I don't think that's really the case in this particular series. Or you feel like you are not really capable of winning a straight up macro game. So you decide to just try and bring everything, to the perfect timing attack instead. And it turns out if you do any sort of scouting and you don't, well, play super greedy early on, that your attacks are just not going to be quite as powerful as you want them to be. But anyways, in the end, since both players are doing it, no one's really gaining a very significant advantage. Twilight Council is going to be going into the good old Blinky Boy upgrade. And here's the first random combination of Terran units. 1 Widow Mine, 1 Cyclone, and 6 Marines, together with a Reaper. Always, like at this point in the game, it always feels so tricky to me, especially for Protoss, right? I mean, we have 2 Adepts and 2 Stalkers, that's it. This is not a fight that Protoss can really win in a straight-up engagement, but obviously Protoss is now going to be kicking in that additional production. Sorry about that, Jimmy. The spot in the medevac got picked up by the Reaper. Poor Jimmy, dude. Jimmy just flew in that plane towards the other side of the map, only to be dropped off and for his seat to be taken by the Reaper instead. Robo support bay on the back of this. Creator is going to be going for a 3rd Nexus here. Pretty normal timing as well. Golden Aura, by the way, is a map that is considered to be pretty macro focused because it's really quite hard to win the game. The third base is nicely tucked away. Fourth base over here is nicely tucked away. Natural is relatively defendable too. So I guess that could explain the reason as to why we see all these corner cuts here in the earlier stages of the match. But it is certainly a little bit on the greedy end of things. But this is a map that is considered to be quite turtleable. That's a word, yes. If you want to be a turtle, this is the place to be. Other than maybe, I don't know, the ocean, for example. That might be a nice place for a turtle as well. Barracks coming up on the back of this. Third command center is going to finish up. Yeah, this has got all of the parts that we would need for a macro game. I feel like the majority of the TVPs I've casted recently, they're all over at like minute 7. Everybody's playing super aggressive. Sometimes we have Protoss players trying to go up to like 3-base carrier or something like that, some Tempest shenanigans. But this looks like just straight up macro from both players. We should see a Ghost Academy in a little bit, I guess, if we want to have a normal macro game. We have one upgrade coming up here inside of the Engie Bay. I wouldn't mind seeing a secondary engineering bay as well. No, straight extended thermal lens here for Protoss. Not bothering with the chrono boost or anything like that. We'll probably see him taking a 4th base here in just a moment. I would not be surprised. Yep. There we go. Okay. Time to get a drink. Time to relax. Because this is going to be a bit of a longer match. Drilling Claws is researching. Combat Shields is coming up. +1. It's going to finish up in just a moment. But we already have that armory done. There is a bit of a move out right now for Oliveira, and there are some Stalkers over here trying to slow this down, and he gets the Cyclone, fair enough. Loses a Stalker in the process too. This move out right here from Oliveira is just to secure the 3rd. Good read though from Creator, because as the Terran is securing the 3rd, he is already going into a 4th base. Bum, bum, bum. The scan will reveal that this is indeed a Colossus transition, but that can't really come as much of a surprise. There's that Ghost Academy I was talking about earlier. One Adept is going to scout it as well, nice and early. But the Ghost will be hitting the battlefield in a moment. Stalker's going around the site. They're pretending that they're alone. Chase me. I'm just a lasers! Lasers! Force fields! Nice little play right there by Creator. Yeah. I love that. We're just a bunch of Stalkers. Definitely stim after us. Nicely done right there by the Protoss. Because there's not really a whole lot of counter-aggression other than this Widow Mine drop. Recall, okay, speedy Widow Mines. Some fast drilling going on over here. No! Oh my god. Come on, Creator, you saw it coming in from a mile away. He was still distracted on the other side of the map. Yeah. Oh, okay. We're gonna use the Colossi. That works. Colossi deals splash damage, so if you kill your own Stalker like that, you can effectively shut it down without needing any sort of detection. That's a cute move, but losing those 9 probes. Definitely more than Oliveira was hoping for. What about this one, huh? We rarely see Drilling Claws. So they, with the most recent balance patch of StarCraft 2, they reduced the splash damage of the Widow Mine. So it deals less splash damage now than it used to. There's also a handful of other changes that they made to the unit, but for this specific interaction, it's the splash damage that has changed the most. And yeah, rushing out Drilling Claws is a bit of a funky upgrade. It's fun. But, yeah. I believe the splash damage used to be at 1.75 and now it's down to 1.5. It's funny, because it's one of those upgrades. And one of those units that, like, the StarCraft community was complaining about a ton. So I saw loads of posts on Reddit and loads of posts on the forums about people complaining about the Widow Mine. But realistically, pre-nerf, I don't think we really saw that much Widow Mine play in the first game. Like, it was a unit we saw played quite a bit, but it didn't really seem to me like it was too strong. Anyways, here's a big attack coming in for Creator. He may have been slowed down a little bit, but his army is pretty much maxed. Stalkers get covered in Dorito dust here once again. Can we knock down the rocks? Yeah, I don't mind that idea. Maybe a prism into the main base would also be a good choice. Main base is quite vulnerable. Okay, the rocks have been knocked down here by Creator. Oliveira has a whole lot of Protoss units knocking at the front door now. Difficult for Protoss here to commit, though. I wouldn't mind seeing a drop over here inside of the natural or a drop in the main base. There's a Widow Mine together with a missile turret, but a lot of space here for the Protoss to maneuver around into. He's going to be trying it from that angle up north instead. Now, this is, of course, a choke point. You already saw one of those big EMPs flying forward. 4th Command Center is being acquired right now. And it looks to me like Creator is mostly backing off from this, as he's going to go into a second forge. Dark Shrine is coming up. Got ourselves some Purification Novas as well on the production tab here in just a moment. And +2/+2 is going to finish up for Oliveira, who really hasn't done too much in this particular game, actually. He's been pretty passive. Considering how aggressive he was in game number 1 with literally a 1-base all-in, other than a few Widow Mines going across the map, there hasn't been much aggression. Now, normally Terrans do get a little bit more adventurous with a maxed out army as soon as 2-2 is done. And those upgrades will be finishing here in just a moment. Does he need to? Not really. Okay, we're going to be building up the additional command centers instead. I guess we'll just see straight Sky Terran play then, huh? I would imagine this is going to be him, yeah, into an additional starport. We'll probably see a fusion core in a moment, 3-3 research, Liberator ranged, and then a whole lot of libs. Boning the libs is something that Protoss players do struggle with. But it's funny, most Terran players seem to be avoiding this stage in the game quite a bit as of late. At least the very best Terrans in the world. Maybe they feel like they don't need to play it? Or maybe they're just not entirely comfortable with it. Anyways, here we go. Big attack coming in from Oliveira. He will be able to make short work of that Nexus. Disruptors, though, do join in the fray. Nice split right there from our Terran player. In the meantime, now we have that shenanigans with the Zealots in both the main base as well as the natural expansion. So even though a Nexus may have gone down, we've got loads of damage here being dealt as well by the Protoss on the other side. Usually this base, like I said, quite nice and tucked away, but Creator decides to give up on it. Really hoping, I guess, that his Zealot Warpins are gonna save the day. He's waiting until Storm is done, but at this point he doesn't even really have any High Templar. I mean, he's got a few Archons. Maybe a few Zealots that like to smoke weed, but other than that, no High Templar for him. So, if that's the case, yeah, these Zealots really have a lot to make up for. I'm surprised he managed to get Storm, but no High Templar at all. Okay. Colossus coming up. He's gonna go into the Blinky Boy upgrade as well for the Dark Templar, but not 100% in love with this. I think Creator, he wanted to go for a full counterattack, but he decided not to. Instead, right now, in order to try and play catch-up economically, even though he has more workers than his opponent, because he just killed 38. Oh, we have a tactical nuke coming up too. Alright. He decided to double expand. So Creator just took 2 expansions. One at the 6 o'clock position and then one over in the bottom left at those golden minerals. 6 o'clock position got scanned just now by Oliveira, so he knows it's there. It's mispositioned, by the way, but he knows it's there. Oliveira, in the meantime, is taking a 5th base. Main is almost run out. We have 9 barracks, and he's adding on a 10th. Wow. That is not what we normally have. Normally, you go up to 8. 10 barracks? After going for... Oh, he cancelled the second starport. Either that or he lost it. Huh. So I think he wanted to play that late-game mass liberator type of army. Ooh. I think that's what he planned on doing here, but he's decided to pivot into more bio instead. Double expand here as well from Oliveira. Planetary is going to finish up on the 9 o'clock position. There is a Liberator here, but nothing all too scary there for Creator as he cleans that up. Tactical nuke! Going on over towards the bottom left-hand corner. This is, of course, a red dot. That's what Creator currently sees. He finds it, though, and it's not really going to deal that much damage. But it does look spectacular. Apparently, the Ghost is just going to try and use its gun instead. Sorry, buddy. We have some invisible people trying to fight invisible people. It's a bit of a mess here. It's interesting to me that only just now is when we remake that starport. I am assuming the Zealot warping in the main base ended up killing that second starport. The fact that he decided to go up to 10 barracks first before going back into additional starport production is a little wild. Oh, I think I could have actually gotten more damage. There's a flank, there's a flank, there's a flank! There are also some High Templar, though, inside of the Prism. Very clumped up Protoss army, so those EMPs are just doing so much work, trying to prevent the Terran from chasing this down. Creator absolutely caught with his pants down. Oliveira got the perfect flank there, and that may just be all she wrote. Great stuff right here by the Terran player. Oh, yeah, grabs that one too, right before the super battery gets activated. And now suddenly that 10 barracks production is going to be pretty sweet, assuming he actually decides to go and spend his money. All right, doesn't need to. GG is cold. Oliveira is going to get the 2-0. Alrighty. Match point for Oliveira. Game number 3 of this best of 5 series. We find ourselves on the map Oceanborn. What are we going to do, Ollie? We've got some options here. He hasn't been scouting. So I would imagine that this is not going to be a scout either. It could be. He could just be going for like an NG Bay block or something along those lines. He could also be, maybe proxying a barracks. Fair enough. This is apparently how we're gonna try and bring it home. Creator, who was previously also not scouting much, is going to be sending a probe across the map early on this time around. He realizes that he's on very thin ice. Problem is, when you get to the other side of the map as Protoss, right, and you see, hey, there's no barracks right over here. Does that really give you a lot of information? Barracks could be over here, barracks could be over there, barracks could be anywhere. At the very least, it should trigger Creator to make a Zealot. And maybe go for a Cyber Core before the Nexus if he's feeling really threatened. Yeah, he's looking around everywhere right now. I think we will go for a Cyber Core before Nexus. So Cyber Core before Nexus, Zealot in the gateway, I guess? He's looking everywhere. He hasn't quite found it yet. It'll be a Proxy Reaper. Yeah. Thank you for making me look smart, Creator. I appreciate that. He's looking everywhere, but he hasn't found it. So he's got 2 probes right now on the hunt for a barracks. Still decides to plant down the Nexus regardless, because it is the right move. He's already walled himself in over here. I mean, honestly, this is not even really that committed. The thing about proxying a barracks is that oftentimes it kind of feels like this is a major commitment by the Terran, but honestly, it's really not. Oh, okay, well now it's kind of a commitment, huh? We're gonna go and build a tech lab here too. The thing is, the requirement to go for a factory is to have a barracks. That's it, right? So, if you were planning on just, making a factory at home, you can just build that very first structure on the other side of the map and call it a day. Maybe use it for scouting later. Nah, this is gonna be a full commitment. A full commitment is what I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's what Oliveira is thinking of as well. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. Okay, he's gonna be going into some Hellion production too, and eventually a starport. So concussive shells being researched on the other side of the map. I don't love this. I want to believe in this, but I'm not sure that I do. So he's going to confirm right now that there's still no command center on the low ground. He sees no add-on on the factory. All of these things are a part of the puzzle. He still has not quite found, by the way, he's been looking everywhere, but he hasn't quite found the proxy racks. These Marauders definitely have their work cut out for themselves. He's decided to go for a pylon over here to try and block this. Oliveira is not planning on going for any sort of expansion here anytime soon. Maybe he wants to in a moment, but not yet. I do like this. All right, Reaper jumps up to the high ground, provides vision for those Marauders to deal damage. That is sweet. This is going to shut down the production, most importantly, right before the Cybercore is done researching. That is a cute little play that Reaper just enabled. In the meantime, though, on the other side of the map, yeah, we are going to see the recall. SCVs were pulled away, too. Keep in mind that Stalkers are not a great unit against Marauders. Probes are going to be forced to pull from their mineral lines as well. Okay. Eventually, the probes will actually just clean this up, which is funny. Their little tasers. Aw, look at them. Zapping units to death. Not before the Marauders, though, are dealing a whole lot of damage. Here's the rest of the units coming in. Now the Hellions are here to join in, too. That's going to make it difficult for those probes to really be chasing anything. At the very least, the pylon repowered the Cybercore, so the warp gate research is finished. And even though Oliveira has gone for the full commitment, I don't think he's going to be able to do too much here on the back of this. Now he's going up against triple gateway production. There's no tech structure or anything like that right here for Creator. No Twilight Council or Stargate or anything like that, but I don't think he needs it. I wouldn't mind seeing a shield battery in the natural once we get a little bit of money for it, but I guess he just wants to warp in stuff. Trying to prioritize killing that Medevac. Nice target firing right there by the Protoss. Okay, GG is cool. Creator gets a point on the board, but that was on a razor's edge. Fast forward through the early game. Alrighty, Alcyone is next. We are currently at the 2-minute mark. Apparently we have a little bit of Baneling research going on over here underground. 405 alive in lead speak. Okay, little dangerous. No early game shenanigans this time around. We did have a little bit of early game scouting though from Creator as he found the barracks where he expected it to be. Always a nice confirmation. It'll be a Twilight Council follow-up here from the Protoss player. Seems like Oliveira really is prioritizing a lot of early game tech. A lot of Terran players like to stick around on. Well, they usually go for a much faster command center and delayed factories and you know, starports and all the rest of it, but Oliveira apparently just prioritizing it as early as possible. Pretty much all of the game so far. Yeah, interesting. It's a stylistic choice, of course. I believe Oliveira still primarily practices on the Korean server. Most of the Chinese guys actually play the Korean server. So they have actually changed their playstyle quite a bit over the last few years. It was actually so fascinating when first the Chinese community kind of became part of the rest of the StarCraft world. Because it was like two species of StarCraft players that like coexisted at the exact same time, but that didn't really interact with one another. So they had all the same traits and all of the same units and all of the same upgrades and all of the same balance patches, but somehow the strategies they played in China were very, very different than everywhere else. And with very, very different, I mean significantly worse. But, but it was still fun to watch, you know? It was really cool to see them coming up with strategies that, yeah, were very different than what we had seen outside of China. These days, however, I think they agree with that too. They're like, yeah, no, the best way to play, to practice is to play on the Korean server. Because those Koreans are pretty good at the game. Okay, so once again, we're going to shut down that pylon, which I do really like. That Reaper, as well as the Medevac, providing the high ground vision, right before the Blink upgrade is done. Last time around, it was, of course, that Warp Gate research, and this is the advantage of going for that quick tech. Cyclone over here is going to end up going down. Pylon 2.0 is going to get shut down, too, and this is powering basically everything. I mean, we have a robo facility currently making a War Prism, but this is an absolute disaster right here for our Protoss. Luckily for him, it's a relatively small group of Terran, but losing 7 probes, 2 pylons, delaying all these upgrades, that is about as bad as it's always, yeah, going to be. All right. Oliveira, I mean, good control here, actually, by Creator, though. I mean, other than losing the 2 pylons, that kind of sucks, but he only lost 1 attacking unit there during all of that. Maybe it's not that bad. Especially since he can now go ahead and drop his money over at a third nexus. Warp gate is going to be done, of course, and he'll be able to quickly reinforce his army with it. Blink is going to finish up right now, which is going to make the follow-up base defense much easier. Oliveira did go for a single benchy here. Yeah, activating the cloak early. At this point, we do have an observer, but it's going to the other side of the map. And this may be the nail in the coffin, to be honest. Super frustrating. Nicely done by Oliveira. Recall will be used. But this is right as he was ready to go for some aggression finally on the other side of the map. At least there's a battery over here. Marine drop in the main base is going to be responsible for another probe kill. Second Banshee shows up too. That one didn't even activate cloaking yet. So it's got loads of energy. Okay, looks like the Stalker's in the meantime inside of that prism. Yeah, he wants to micro everything. It's very risky, but he needs to get something done now. 4 probes is not bad. Okay. A lot of chaos. 16 probes killed at 6.5 minutes. Ay, 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 ay. Oliveira, by the way, not really opting for any of that Raven play that we've seen a lot over the last couple of weeks. It seems like players from, well, for example, the Korean server, like Maru, they're going into quite a bit of Raven play. We did have some of it earlier, but he's not mixing it in as part of his early game unit composition. Instead, he just seems to be building all the stuff that allows him to be aggressive. All of the first 10 or so units that Oliveira produces are meant for early game aggression, it seems. Just fair enough. Okay. His next push will probably be when these 3 upgrades finish up. The Holy Trinity right here of Terran upgrades. Stimpak combat shields +1 infantry upgrades. Big part of the Terran religion right there. Now, the Ghost Academy is coming up at a very conventional timing, but the same cannot be said for the Templar Archives here. This is a very fast Templar Archives, especially since we do have the Robo facility down. Generally, you would be expecting Protoss here to go into a Robo Bay and into Colossi, and maybe they will be coming up, well, eventually. The reason why we don't normally see Storm early on is because it's going to run headfirst into Ghosts. So this is Creator trying to almost get a little bit lucky. He's now almost 20 supply behind, and he needs to get something done to try and get back into this. Storm drops are certainly a way to get it done. Maybe that's the plan. These Adepts are gonna get sacrificed. And that attack, yeah, not really achieving a whole lot. Second Robo on the back of this too. Okay, he sees the Templar warp in, but that doesn't really mean too much. Alright, here we go. Not all heroes wear capes, but these two, they do. Nicely done right there by our Protoss, but ultimately this also falls flat on its face. The 2 High Templar get something done, but that's really about it. The Stalkers fell, and while the Terran army got bruised up a little bit, they're gonna be healed back eventually, I guess. There's only 2 medevacts at this point in time. We should get a couple more here, but they should be healed back up eventually. Okay. Here's Oliveira. Sharp push. I really like this attack, actually. Just trying to shut down the 4th Nexus here, which is exactly what he's been aiming for. He doesn't really need to stay here, but he's feeling like he might just be able to win the series, and with that, the tournament. It's a little risky, though. Oh my god, okay, well, that's something. That's what I'm talking about. It's very easy to make a mistake. Okay. 7 Terran lives. That could have just been, well, could have just been saved. If Creator needs to pull a rabbit out of a hat, that's a good start. We're all familiar with the missile turret, man. Do you think there's a Protoss being inside of the disruptor? I have no idea what we're even looking at. Is that like the small purification nova inside of the disruptor? I have never noticed that. Is that the starting animation of the... The starting animation of the purification nova is inside of the disruptor permanently? I have never noticed that. That is on me. I should have definitely seen that. I think when the disruptor fires, that light goes out, but I didn't quite consider the fact that the actual purification nova is always on display. This guy's just showing off his novas. Just showing everybody that wants to see the big ball of energy. So when a disruptor does it, it's fine. But when I do it... Anyways. He's gonna be cleaning up whatever he can over on this side of the map still. Decided to go for the sneaky base up here. Oliveira has seen it at this point and he will confirm the rest of the army. It's go time! Difficult base to attack into though, with all of those novas. Likewise though, this is also a relatively tricky area for Creator because he's so... Oh, okay, nicely done. He's so clumped up, right? So a big EMP is gonna be an absolute disaster. Early battery overcharge. Another Nova does snatch a couple of those Marauders. Okay, another good storm. Way overextended right here are those Vikings. They decide to sacrifice themselves in favor of that kill on the Warp Prism. Immortal decides to walk forward quite a bit. Okay, 2 Ghosts end up going down with the next Nova. This Protoss army is growing. It's a scary Protoss army at this point. It doesn't have great upgrades. That is one of the things here that Creator is going to run into the longer that this game goes on. But he held on to that base. And he actually, I think, won the fight. Yeah. Obviously, most of the units still live. Well, that first 7 disruptor, or those first seven kills by one of those disruptors. That may have just been the beginning of a comeback right here for Creator. Links up towards the high ground, very aggressively. Not a Marauder here gets clipped. Medivacs fly a little bit too aggressively over all of those Stalkers, but it looks like they will stay alive for now. Storms left, right, and center getting a lot of damage done. In the meantime, though, there's a Medivac drop as well, or 2 Medivac drops that are killing a ton of economy. So this is do or die right now for Creator. Those mules can very easily replenish the Terran economy. Well, unless you end up losing the orbital command itself. This army, though, here is massive. Tactical nuke. I didn't even realize we had a nuke. He's tried to deploy a tactical nuke in the middle of that Protoss army. But with the Ghost going down, that nuke is now somewhere. Nobody knows where it is. It's somewhere around orbit, I guess, in orbit around Alcyone. A little rough, because it might just connect somewhere at some point in time. I think Creator has just done it. He did lose 2 Nexi at home in the meantime. So he needs to win the game with this army, but there's just not enough stuff remaining right here for Oliveira. His army has, yeah, absolutely dwindled. Look at that. Beautiful. Well done right here by Creator. I mean, he needed to get it done. Much like the previous match, though. This is also on a razor's edge, but I think he just has the numbers. Oliveira making his army look scary. But he does not have enough. GG is called. Creator evens up the score. Alrighty. Suddenly, we find ourselves on Ghost River. Let's see. Not that long ago, this was a series where Oliveira looked like he was gonna have the clean 3-0 sweep. Honestly, if things were ever so slightly different, this was now a 4-0 advantage for Oliveira in a best-of-5 series, which would be quite difficult to pull off, but... Well, the scoreboard is no lie. Creator has managed to bring it home twice now. Let's see if he can, well, complete the reverse sweep. We don't see a lot of reverse sweeps, and this has been a very, very close one so far. It would be kind of amazing if Creator can actually bring it all the way back. All right, Ghost River, of course, is a map with a very quick rush distance. I would imagine that Oliveira is gonna be keen to send some units towards the other side of the map again early on. Fully expecting him to play double gas early once again. Don't know if you can go for another one base 1-1-1. Fair enough. Rush distance for ground to ground is very short, but the rush distance for air to air is even shorter. So even though I do quite like Blink Stalker on this map, it seems like a lot of pro gamers are fans of going into the good old Stargate as well. We'll have to see after that Cybercore finishes. That's a very quick Nexus as well here, all things considered. But he's been scouting on the other side of the map and he noticed. Okay, it's just a straight Marine opener. Command Center as well this time around. So Oliveira's strategies are so funny to me, man. I can't believe he did a one base all-in on post-youth. Quick double gas, straight 1-1-1 on post-youth. And then on Ghost River, which is like the map. If you want to go for that sort of strategy, that seems like the map for that specific style. This is where he decides to go for a quick in-base expansion. And then eventually a second gas geyser in a factory. Okay. Scouting around. Yeah, it will indeed be a Stargate. So the distance that Oracle is going to have to fly is very short. Especially if you have to fly to the natural expansion. So sometimes you see like the second pylon being the one that has the tech unit, or the tech structure rather, attached to it, because this distance is very quick. Anyways, it all comes down to how well Oliveira is going to be able to handle that early game pressure. You should have more than enough Marines for it. But you still have to have them in the right place at the right time. Okay, now this is not a good start here for Creator. Good body blocking right there by Oliveira. Jimmy, dude. Jimmy threw in a cheeky little lat spread right there, making himself look extra wide. Somehow managed to body block the entire Adept. Did take a little bit of damage in the process, but managed to get the job done. Hellion in the meantime on the other side of the map. Didn't we have an Oracle in the production tab earlier? I thought I saw an Oracle. Instead it's going to be Phoenixes now, so maybe he decided to cancel the Oracle in favor of Phoenixes. Creator, by the way, a very emotional player. Most of the StarCraft pros out there, they kind of play StarCraft 2 like they're a psychopath. Like, they kind of play like they don't have human feelings. He's like, human feelings, I don't like this. Right? Like, that's how most of the StarCraft players play. Creator, not somebody who's afraid to show emotion. I can picture exactly what he looked like while he was playing this game. Very frustrated. Like, that Adept loss right there, that hurts Creator in particular. Like he, yeah, that is not something he's happy about. And I feel like historically, Creator from these positions is kind of, so that's the problem obviously with playing emotionally, right? Usually, historically, he's kind of maybe trash talked himself in those scenarios a little bit too much. So little mistakes immediately have very significant outcomes for the rest of the game too. Where he makes one mistake early on, he's like, oh my god, I can't do anything right. And then, well, that's basically the remainder of the series. But I feel like he has gotten a lot better at that over the last maybe 2 to 3 years or so. The tip-top players, especially I've noticed Dark is very good at that. When they make a mistake and something doesn't go well, they immediately move on. Somebody like Dark does not linger on their mistakes at all. Just instantly gets back into the swing of things. I almost feel like that is a natural skill that you may have. Is that Jimmy from the early game with the cheeky lat spread? No, Jimmy. Jimmy has been turned into a scout. Poor Jimmy, dude. Okay, now this is quite nice here for Creator. Not for Jimmy. But for Creator, it's quite nice, because he got 4 SCV kills, kept all of those Phoenixes alive, even though one of them was misrallied. Got a little lucky there, but he also managed to get that third Nexus up, without the Terran actually killing it. I think Oliveira could have gone for the kill, but he didn't know. +1 together with the Blinky Boy upgrade coming up right now for Creator, who hits a supply block. Only a very short one, but still. It shows at least a couple of nerfs. Okay. So the Vikings here are decent to try and deal with the Phoenixes. The Vikings are good against Colossi as well. But at this point, we don't have a Robo Bay yet. We don't have any Colossi coming up whatsoever. The Vikings, I guess, can be used as well to try and deal with a War Prism or something like that. But if they're just hanging out over there, and once again, they're not in position here to try and deal with these Phoenixes, the Phoenixes ultimately just win that fight easy peasy. Yeah, now the Vikings ultimately fly over, but again, couple kills right here for the Phoenixes. They're gonna fly away. That's another Widow Mine and 2 SCVs down. Creator now finding himself up in this series. Feel like I have never said that, because feels like he's been behind in 4 games out of 4. Oh, that was great. That was really lovely. Gets the Siege Tank and Marauder. Oh, I think he's doing it. A full reverse sweep. It is not something we see very frequently. Ay, that's a disaster for Oliveira. He's trying to go into a Ghost Academy. Usually that's what you do when you get up to that triple CC economy, but he doesn't, he doesn't really have it. I mean, he kept the Command Center alive at the very least, but... 4th Nexus in the meantime on the right side of the map. Drilling Claws coming up again for Ollie. So he probably wants to go for some cheeky Widow Mine drops, something like it, but, well, if our Protoss has any say in the matter, he's going to shut it down immediately. Could be a bit of an overextension, though, because these Stalkers are obviously going to have their blink on cooldown. They do escape. 4 Stalkers in total have gone down in this game. Oliveira is going to try and secure the 3rd Command Center once again. He's up with his back against the wall. He needs to get something done, but his Terran army is just about to hit a power spike with the 1-1 research coming. Good snipe right there on what I think was a Viking. Armor upgrades here, together with Charge. Sonic Storm coming up as well. Okay. Not a Marauder. Okay, now this is a slight overextension there from the Protoss for sure. But honestly, he's got everything he needs right now to, play a proper game. I mean, honestly, Oliveira's not going to be able to do much until 2-2 is done. So he can kind of like maybe go for like a Widow Mine drop. He can go for like a Medevac drop in general, I guess. But it's quite difficult for him to really go for an all-out attack until 2-2 is done. And that's still like at least 2 minutes away. Creator, in the meantime, has all of the tools at his disposal to do whatever he likes. Storm is going to be sweet. Charge is going to be sweet. Archons are going to be amazing. We finally have Ghosts coming up too, but those Ghosts are, well, relatively late. There's 3 of them out already, but I think as long as there's a Prism. Hallucinated Colossus. All right, Creator. Creator's starting to have some fun now, huh? I don't know why this Colossus is coming in walking from a mile away, but maybe he just wanted to fake it and really try to fake it. I feel like I've seen a lot of hallucinated Colossi lately. Okay, here we go. Creator feels like he might have a shot at winning this series right here, right now. 2-2 though is on the horizon. The reincarnation of Jimmy also gets destroyed. Widow Mine is going to be set off. Good Storm. No EMPs yet. Finally one does land, but it's, well, not really looking very good right here for Oliveira. Oliveira was looking so dominant throughout this series. GG is cold. Wow, it's actually Creator who brings it all the way back after falling 2-0 behind. It was not looking all too great in Game 3. Was not looking great in Game 4. Well, game number 5 has actually been quite dominant, but overall, I feel like Oliveira played a very good series, but it's Creator who obtains the victory, 3-2.